Hey, everybody, welcome to our virtual Bible study. We're glad you tuned in tonight to be with us as we continue our study on the existence of God. And if you're looking at the number of the lesson, tonight is lesson number 8. And we are talking about morality and meaning. We're talking about life's value and purpose and morals. So we're going to get into that very shortly. Real quick, if you're visiting us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and then hit the subscribe button right below the video. We repeat often why we do this. We're not monetized. We do not make money on this channel. The church takes care of whatever expense is involved. For us, that's minimal. Just to produce a video is minimal. It's not a professional setup, though we're working toward that. You know, we always want to try to be better at what we do. We think we should do that. Ecclesiastes 9:10, whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. So we're trying. And this is not about money for us, but it is about boosting views per video so that it pushes the video out to be seen a little bit more visible on YouTube. Not to mention, you get the benefit of never missing content. So please help us out by subscribing and giving us a thumbs up. If you're on Facebook, please help us by sharing the video on your timeline so that not only do you get the benefit of seeing it, but we can shop it all over Facebook and other people get to see it as well. And so we don't have a way of contacting perhaps all the people on your friends list, but if you share the video on your timeline, then we gain access to all of those people as well. All right, so we've been having a great study, super great study. We're thankful that you've tuned in tonight. If you've not seen the first 7 lessons, and some of those are multiple week lessons, I would encourage you to go back and look at those. A lot of those up through lesson number 5 are foundational. We weren't necessarily making arguments for the existence of God, maybe slightly. As much as we were saying, let's be honest in how we argue for the existence of God. Let's talk about the nature or the kind of evidence that we're capable of using. We want to be fair and honest in our approach. We don't want to just repeat what we've heard without knowing whether that works as an argument or not. So that's what we've been doing. We laid the foundation for 5 lessons, and then lesson number 6, 7, and now tonight we're talking about evidences. We've spent some time already on cause and effect, right? For every material cause, for everything that exists in the universe, a made thing, there has to be an explanation for that. And we've worked our way back to God. We talked about design in the last lesson, number 7. So go back and look at lesson number 7. We talked about how there is intelligent design and of a complexity that it could not have happened by chance, right? The more layers of complexity that you add into something, the greater the degree of improbability of chance, right? So it's not like when you have, 1 times 10 to the bajillionth power of something for just even one simple component to have occurred, and you couple that with all of the intricacies of the universe, it's impossible for it to have happened by chance. There was a mind, an intelligence that preceded the making of the universe. All right, so tonight we're going to look at morality, meaning, purpose, and what that has to do with the existence of God. Now, I want to begin by reading a quote from a leading atheist, right? And when I say these, if you're an atheist and you're watching these programs, I'm not making fun of you. Right? It's not a personal attack on you personally. I'm saying this is an illustration, right? Even if you don't agree with what's written, I'm not saying that every single atheist perhaps believes this way, but I would consider the person I'm about to read a leading atheist in the sense that he's prominent. And I would say this represents how people try to get out of the force of morality and meaning and purpose and try to advocate for something else. Okay, so don't take it personally because I'm reading this. So here's a quote from a leading atheist, and he says this: most thoughtful people would agree that morality, so this would have to do with character, So let's just throw an issue in there. To not murder, right? Morality, he would be talking about murdering or not murdering, or he would be talking about stealing from somebody or not stealing from somebody. Right? These are moral choices that we make in life. So his argument is, most thoughtful people would agree that morality in the absence of policing is somehow more truly moral than the kind of false morality that vanishes as soon as the police go on strike or the spy camera is switched off. Whether the spy camera is a real one monitored in the police station or an imaginary one in heaven. You see where he's going with that? Because see, the argument would go something like this. It's better to just be moral just for the sake of being moral than it is to be moral because you're scared of somebody policing you from heaven. That's what he's saying. Now, there's obviously some implications, some flat out statements about how he's proceeding with the issue of morality. He is suggesting in this, right, when he's talking about the police monitor, the police station, and you do what you do only because you're afraid of the police, he's suggesting that theists, like myself or anybody that believes in the existence of God, we only act out of fear. The fear of being prosecuted by an omniscient police force in heaven. I mean, to use his language, right? That we are scared of God, and that's the only reason that we do what we do. Now, his characterization of God is very far from true. God is certainly a just God. According to the Bible, he is a just God. And punishment is certainly a reality for disobedience in Scripture. But God is merciful, and God is good. That's how the Bible paints the portrait of him. It's not to remove that part of God, to say that he's not severe, because he's good and severe. Romans 11:22. But God is good and he's merciful. And men that serve God and do so faithfully do so in order to reciprocate how good God has been to them. They're not doing it just out of cowering fear of God. That's a misrepresentation of theism and Christianity. We serve God because we love him, because of what he's done for us. We are so undeserving of what he's done. He staves off, he keeps away from us punishment that we are certainly deserving of, and has done things for us that we don't deserve and we couldn't earn and we could never merit. That's the grace and the mercy of God. So his characterization of God is certainly wrong. He suggests that morals based on a transcendent God are imaginary, right? And so that's where he gets to the end. He talks about whether you're scared of the monitor at the police station or the imaginary one in heaven. Well, that's what we're debating, isn't it? Whether God is real or not. He is suggesting that morality is a myth. Morality is a myth. The very concept of it is a myth. And that genuine morality is men and women digging deep within themselves and acting without guidance and coercion, but they'll just inevitably do the right thing. If you can define for me what the right thing is. Of course, Dawkins, who I'm quoting from, never really provides a sufficient answer to a definition of good without God. And that's the problem. That's what we're debating. And the only reason I'm quoting that to begin with is I think it illustrates that the issue of morality is right at the center of this debate on the existence of God. And it's legitimate, right, to ask, why would anybody do anything? What's the reason behind why we would do what we would do morally? Why would we make the choice to avoid one course and pursue another course? Why would we do that except without God? And that's what's up for debate. If we are intrinsically valuable, if you have worth posited within you, and I believe that, I believe every single human being, even from the moment of conception, I believe we have inherent worth because of who we are. what we are in creation. But if we do have that, right, if we have intrinsic value and intrinsic worth, then there has to be a standard of conduct in keeping with the nature of God, because He's our maker, that protects our unique, distinguished character and governs our relationship, not just to ourselves, but with God and with our fellow men, right? So the way we conduct ourselves, the way we interact with people is all based on, I believe, the God who made us. And I believe there's an argument to be made about morality for the existence of God. Now, if we are not intrinsically valuable, that would have to be the other choice. We either are or we are not intrinsically valuable. Then we're here by chance, right? That's the only explanation for that, is that we're here by chance, and because of that, there's no posited value in human beings. We have no uniqueness at all. And even if you claim that we are unique, that we are stronger or smarter in this universe than other things in the world, we'd still eventually be overcome or replaced by something greater and stronger than ourselves. That would have to be the option you would choose to get away from God, which would ultimately suggest that you have, and I have, that we all have no intrinsic value. We have no morality. Now, I don't think there's a legitimate objection in these concerns, right? Because in theism, if we take the line of approach where we're saying, there's intrinsic value and there's intrinsic worth, we come back to this issue of mind precedes the matter. So whatever values exist because of the eternal personality that existed before this world. I think we're going to see that they're all strong arguments. I just personally, I don't see a way around the force of the issue of morality to try to excuse oneself from the existence of God. I think it's a powerful testimony for God's existence, right? But here's the issue. In naturalism, in Darwinism, in atheism, in evolutionary theory, when you look at the origins that are involved in sort of naturalistic evolutionary origins, we're just matter. We have no intrinsic value. Matter is the reason for our existence. Matter preceded the mind, so there's no value in this material world other than what we generate for ourselves. So as one would say, in a world without God, mankind could not be more significant than a swarm of mosquitoes or a barnyard of pigs, for the same cosmic process that coughed both of them up in the first place will eventually swallow them up again. I think that's an astute observation. It's just the truth. You either have intrinsic value or you don't. And I don't see that as a problem to explore that, because if for theism, it's not a problem because there's an explanation for it. I'm just convinced there's not an explanation for it in atheism. Okay? And again, it's not to make, I'm not making fun of you personally. I just see this as excuse me for the non-Webster's word, but this is a non-get-overable argument when it comes to proof for the existence of God. So, the question everybody has to ask is this, because moral properties exist, all right? But why do they exist? What is the origin of moral properties? How do we answer that? How do we answer? True or false? Human beings have intrinsic value. I believe that. There's an unexplainable sanctity of life if we take God out of the picture. How do we even explain the value of human beings? Now, if we say true, if we say yes, we have value, then we're suggesting that there is value to human life beyond man's biological being. Man has moral properties that when they are pursued, they define our purpose. Now, I want you to consider carefully with me two options. And I want you to be honest, right? I know that you can come back and you say, well, that's just hogwash, right? Or you can make a video and you can review this video and make a video and say, this is just nonsense. But you tell me, of two people that I'm about to present, which of these two people makes the world a better place? All right, so here's Here's person number one, man number one. Okay, so you have this man or a woman, man or woman, either one, a human being. Human being number one, he is kind, very kind human being, sharing, right? Unselfish in his ways. He does good to help other people, right? He tries so hard to make other people's life better. He's unselfish. He doesn't steal. He doesn't murder. He has no intention to do that. He's honest, right? If he gives you his word, he's going to keep his word. He's intellectually virtuous. He pursues truth. He studies. He tries to advance and grow in his mind, socially even. He pursues knowledge. All right, so there's man number one. In contrast, you've got man number two. Man number two is unkind. He is shrewd. He just won't even give you the time of day. Curses you when he sees you. He is selfish. He can't share. He disregards other people. He steals. He's a murderer. He's intellectually unethical, right? He's going to cheat you if he gets the chance. He is dishonest and he is ignorant. Now, tell me this. Which of those two people makes the world a better place? If you say number one, I want you to tell me why. Why does number one make the world a better place? Upon what basis is he a better man? If you say there's no standard beyond ourselves, then how can we conclude that man number one makes the world a better place? Why not man number two? Why not being shrewd and unkind and selfish? Why not stealing and murdering? Why doesn't that make the world a better place? Why not? Why is dishonesty and ignorance not profitable for this world? See, either we have a subjective conclusion where there is no right answer, and you can't condemn man number two. You can't say, well, who am I to say? I mean, if he wants to murder, let him murder because he's just developing his own morality. Or we say there are moral values that are preferable, and the only reason we can say that is because there's an objective source of that morality, or you can't say anything. That's our choice. I mean, that's where we come to. So we return to this question every single time. If moral properties do exist, if there are preferences for morality and choices we make in life, and that they apply uniquely to human beings, right? They don't apply. These are things that do not apply to bumblebees, or you can't look at a fruit tree and say something about moral choices, even among the animated world, right? When a baboon walks up to another baboon and takes the ball away, that's not the same as a human being taking someone else's property. There's something unique to human beings, right? What is it about human beings that make those moral properties specifically applicable? Murder and rape. Why are those things wrong? Why is lying to another person wrong? Why is it wrong to steal? Why is that? Why is it wrong for me to walk up to another human being and just sucker punch him in the face? Why is it wrong for me to do that? Because either we're saying there is objective morality. That's wrong. You shouldn't do that. And if I say shouldn't, I'm suggesting there's an attachment of our moral actions to something beyond this universe. Or we're left with no uniqueness and no ability to evaluate moral activity. Now, somebody may come along and they will say, well, each person decides for themselves how to act and define for themselves the kind of person that he or she wants to be. They're basically saying we're required to advocate for egoism, right? Where your own self-interests are the valid end of all actions. Our world is kind of imploding around us morally. Well, that's kind of the result of that. When you look out and you say, man, that's terrible. You shouldn't do that. Why did he do that? I mean, we've got news cycles right now where people literally, we're having a big argument in the news cycles right now about some men who murdered a man. Now, he might have been trying to be arrested for something, but they just outright murdered the man and committed a horrible crime against this person by all looks of it. They disregarded human life. Why is it wrong for them to do that? Okay? Either you can't say anything about that, or you can because murder's wrong, and not because you determine that it is, but because we all know that it comes from an objective point of morality. What is it about the choice of those moral properties, right, that makes the choice of being honest and kind and sharing and decent with other people and benevolent? What is it that makes that preferable? There's no answer for it. Now, I know that there's some theories out there, right, that have tried to skirt around the issue, and they call this optimist humanism, right? They say that people will choose those moral properties because they're essentially more worthwhile than other properties. God doesn't exist. You'll just choose those because those are the right thing to do. I'm saying, why would we do that? To say that something is something is worthwhile is to say that it carries inherent value. You see where we're going with this? None of us can get away from the inherent value of certain actions that they define humanity and make humanity better, but we can't explain why it's better unless we have God in the picture. Consider this. Let's say you take someone like, let's go back to number 1 and number 2 people in contrast. How do you feel about Hitler? How do you feel about Hitler, or Charles Manson, or Ted Bundy, or Jeffrey Dahmer? Right, the actions of Jeffrey Dahmer, the actions of Hitler, the actions of Charles Manson, in their murderous actions toward people. What do you say about that? Was it wrong? Was it wrong for Hitler to murder 6 million Jews, 6+ million Jews? Why was it wrong for him to do that? Who are you to say that what he did was wrong? Unless you're making that judgment based on an objective, eternal reference point. If there's objective morality, and we're suggesting that there is, then we can discern the difference between good and evil, right and wrong. And we're all posited with that. We all know the difference. It's wrong to rape somebody. Rape is wrong. I can say that because objectively it is wrong. If there is no God, who says that rape is wrong? Then you can't say it's morally wrong. You can just say as a society, we don't want to do that because other people are offended by that. In our cancel culture, maybe we would do that. But I'm saying it's morally wrong to do it because God exists. If we can't say it, then the only difference would be between the difference would be, it would basically be like a career, a lifestyle choice. Some people choose to be murderers and some people choose not to be. That's what nature tells them to do. Just like some people are professional golfers and other people are museum curators. It's not like that. If egoism is true, morality is based on whatever pleases each individual person. And if I want to be a rapist or a serial killer or a prostitute or whatever I want to be, could you really criticize my choice if there's no God? Now, somebody might say, but we can do good moral things, and one choice is good and another choice is just bad. But again, how do we do that? We are stuck at this dividing line of how we know what is moral and what is not as moral. Now, so I've heard people say, well, regardless of whether there's a God in the picture, we should just put ourselves in someone else's shoes. That's Matthew 7:12. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's just ungetable. It's just, this is a dilemma that is just unexplainable without God in the picture. What does it matter if I help the poor? Or if my actions do not harm others or even future generations? Why should I even be concerned with any of those if there's no value in anything that I'm doing? If God does not exist, then objective moral values, objective moral duties do not exist either. That's just the truth. But they do exist. All of us are willing to admit that. You can try to take God out of the picture, but if you condemn murder, and if you condemn rape, and if you condemn the Holocaust, and if you condemn stealing, right? And we would do that because they're objectively morally wrong things to do, then what we're admitting is God exists. Whether you verbally say it or not, we're admitting that there's something beyond this universe that gives meaning to those choices. All right, so that's That's where we are. We are suggesting that when you look at the issue of morality, the only way that you can say something is preferable, that something is worthwhile, this is a good thing to do, is if there's an objective code, so to speak, for that. And that reference point, right, that value, that meaning, comes from God. Years ago, and it's, of course, it's popular. If you especially put a little music behind it and you put it on a commercial, it just sounds really cool. But you may have heard Invictus by William Ernest Henley, and it sounds great, right? It's just got a marching tone to it. It's in word, though, it's just terrible. Listen to this. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Now that sounds cool, right? Because of the tone of it and the rhyme of it. You think, man, that's great. But that's not true. I am not, I'm telling you, I'm not the master of my soul in the sense that I can just go do whatever I want to do. Because there's some things that are not right to do. And the reason they're not right is because there's a God in heaven that exists who posited value within humanity, that there's morality and purpose and meaning in morality, and the end of that is God. Somebody came along later and rewrote that, and I think the rewriting of it is much better. She entitled it My Captain. It goes like this. Out of the night that dazzles me, bright as the sun from pole to pole, I thank the God I know to be for Christ, the conqueror of my soul. Since his the sway of circumstance, I would not wince nor cry aloud. Under the rule which men call chance, my head with joy is humbly bowed. Beyond this place of sin and tears, that life with him, and his the aid, despite the menace of the years, keeps and shall keep me unafraid. I have no fear, though strait the gate, he cleared from punishment the scroll. Christ is the master of my fate. Christ is the captain of my soul. And I think that perfectly embodies what this argument is about. I get that people are passionate about atheism, right? And I get that people are vehement against God and his existence. But the fact is, we are completely unable to define what is and what is not moral without God in the picture. And that is an argument for the existence of God. For us to be able to say that anything is wrong proves that there's a right, an objective right, and that is God. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Thank you so much. We love our studies together. Thank you. And we appreciate the words of encouragement. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm not going to post it, but my phone number, my email address, it's easy enough to find. Go to our website. You can find some contact information there. We'd love to have you contact us, and I'm glad to talk. In fact, we've got to get caught up on some conversations now. We've had a busy sick season and a Christmas season and a New Year season and a birthday season, and so let's get back to the business of studying. Thank you so much, guys, thanks for tuning in. We just appreciate it. It's very encouraging that you watch and tune in, and our pursuit is truth. I hope you're on that journey too. Hey, just so you know, I love you very much. I really do. And God loves you even more than I do. Hope to see you next week, same time. We'll see you then.